Now, I want to spend a little bit of time on this. The next point, the next one of the principles of the founders, a moral foundation, but then a government that's constitutionally limited. And we're going to look at three documents here, the Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And I want you to think of the Constitution in these terms. It is a grant of authority from whom? Yeah, we the people, right? The Constitution still says that. I checked it last week, make sure it hadn't changed. I heard about some of that stuff going on in California, and well, I thought maybe they changed it and forgot to tell me. But no, it still says that we the people have established this government, ratified by the states. And I want you to understand that the United States Constitution can establish a federal system of government. It didn't establish state government. State governments preceded. The federal government is a product of the state government. The state governments ratified the Constitution of that day and continue to this day in terms of amendments. And so it was the federal system that was created by the Constitution, by the states, by the people, not the other way around, and that's common misunderstanding. So federal system of government, and it divided governmental authority at the federal level into three distinct branches. This is American Government 101. What were the three branches? Executive, judicial, and legislative, right? And what's the role of the legislative? They make the laws. What does the executive do? Enforces it. What does the judicial do? Interprets it, decides what does the law really say, how do they meet the application of the law, etc. And that was that's a constitutional separation of powers. Now, where do you think the founders got such an idea as that? Dividing the government into three branches. We can look in the book of Isaiah and make a good argument. Look here. The Lord is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. There's judicial, legislative, and executive right there. And we understand God is sovereign, and God is all-powerful, and God is wise, and God is absolutely 100% just, and we can entrust to him all three components, bless you, all three components of government. But man is sinful, and the founders understood this. And they said, we must separate these powers, and we must put some limitations on government. We can find this same principle of delegation of authority in our original founding document, the Declaration. What does it say? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands that have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth that equal and separate station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, then a decent respect for the opinion of mankind requires that they declare the causes that impel them to the separation. That's one sentence. And that's the opening paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. And I think what Jefferson is telling us very eloquently and somewhat long-windedly is, hey, y'all, we're about to break this thing off with Great Britain. Now, he may have said y'all. He was from Virginia. But we don't know. But we've already been at war. Listen, Lexington and Concord, that was 1775. We are now July 1776. We've been at war. We think we owe it to the rest of the world to tell them why, because a decent respect for the opinion of mankind requires that we declare the causes which impel us to this separation. Now, the second paragraph will be more familiar to you. We hold these truths to be what? Self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain what? Unalienable rights. You know what? Do you realize that biblical creationism is the foundation for our Declaration? Because without a Creator, we have no rights. Do you follow that? And folks, if we deny our Creator, we have abandoned our rights. This is why this debate is so critically important to us today. And he goes on to say that among these rights are what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Notice it does not say you have a right to be happy. It does not say you have a right to be happy. You have a right to what? Pursue it. Finding it is up to you. There's no guarantees. Don't come tell me, don't I have a right to be happy? No, you don't. Nobody ever said that. Well, somebody may have said it, but they didn't say it. You have a right to pursue it. And that's why we have governments. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The people. It's the people. See, this was in opposition to the British view, which was the divine right of kings. Our founders said God has given to the people the power to govern themselves, and they can then delegate that power to a government, and they can create a government, a state government or a federal government, and they did. And Article 1 of our federal Constitution says, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in Congress. Granted from whom? We the people, folks. There's a connection here. Follow with me. The executive power vested in the president. The judicial power vested in the Supreme Court of the United States and such other inferior courts as Congress may establish from time to time. These principles are there. If we just dig them out just a little bit and unpack this stuff, you can see what the founders were trying to do. They were establishing the structure of our federal government built on the moral foundation of the Declaration. This is a very important point. Because, see, the Constitution is very much a procedural, structural type of a document. Whereas the Declaration is more, it's a moral document. It's a, you know what? It's a theological document. It's full of moral principles and theological doctrines. And so the founders built this Constitution on this foundation contained in the Declaration of Independence. And when our founders said the laws of nature and if nature's God, it meant something, folks. They were talking about the authority of Scripture. That was a theological term at that time. We say the laws of nature and if nature's God today, and we think Darwinism and survival of the fittest, and that's not what they meant at all. The common law of England was built upon the foundation of Scripture. And so they understood what they were doing. And folks, if you take our Constitution and you try to interpret it separate from this moral foundation, you can turn and twist those words and make them say pretty much anything you want to. Is that not what we have seen taking place in America today?